Then I would like to ask Dr. Petara Chobanov. Dr. Petara Chobanov. Okay. Dr.
Okay.
Petara Chobanov.
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
Okay,
Hello.
great. He is a full-time associate professor from the University of National World Economy from Sofia, Bulgaria. He works at the Department of Finances, and recently he was appointed as a director of the Institute of Economics and Politics from the same university. And in 2013-14, Mr. Chobanov held the position of a minister of Bulgaria. He was a minister of finance of Bulgaria, and before he was a chairman of the Financial Supervision Commission of Bulgaria. So I would like to give the floor to Mr. Chobanov.
Thank you very much. Yes, I have to wait for Mr. Professor Richeto because right now I couldn't share my presentation yet.
We would like to ask
yes
to finish the presentation. Maybe like this.
Yeah.
Maybe now.
Yes, Professor Richeto just has to.
Yes. Professor Richeto.
Oh, okay.
Can you
close your computer?
Yeah, can you close the in order to the screen? Yeah, thank you. Let me see now.
Bon, ça y est. Non, mais je suis pas le seul, il y en a plein qui ont.
Comment?
Je suis pas le seul.
Okay. Now, could you see this? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, dear colleagues, I'd like to share with you some notes about medium-term economic developments in Central and Eastern European countries. Actually, in the past also I have such a book only in Bulgarian with the imbalances before the global financial crisis, and unfortunately now we also have another crisis which is connected with COVID-19, and it is good time to see what is happening and how these countries are look like now. So just a second. We have 11 countries in this study, and part of them are members of the Eurozone now. So these are Slovenia, Slovakia, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. And yet non-Eurozone countries are Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Croatia, Hungary, Poland, and Romania. And before the global crisis, part of countries were with currency board or fixed exchange rate, and other countries was inflation targeters. And I look at some indicators, as I said, and they are connected with potential GDP and potential growth itself. And I'm looking at GDP growth, actual GDP growth, potential GDP growth, and share of investments in the GDP, employment, productivity and labor cost, and budget balance and public debt. And we have two periods, 7 years before the global crisis from 2002 to 2008, and 7 years before the current crisis or after the global crisis from 2013 to 2019. So the base years are 2001 and 2012, and we have for most of the indicators actually average growth per annum for them, as we will see. So as it was said in some presentations, and as we know, there was a lot of imbalances built before the global crisis. They were accumulated and increased the vulnerability of countries to several shocks. And Central and Eastern European countries were not prepared for the crisis, and their economies were highly susceptible to negative impact of shocks. As a result, the global crisis has had a significant impact and led to a sharp deterioration in key economic indicators. So good pre-crisis economic times before the global crisis, before 2008, were not used to build up sufficient fiscal buffers, and policy pursued in a large number of countries does not comply with the Stability and Growth Pact rules, with the maybe or the only exception of Bulgaria and Estonia. To some extent, Lithuania as well, but not so much more. Bulgaria and Estonia were the case for this, to accumulate some fiscal buffers. Here we have a table showing us when these countries are from which year they are members of European Union, and part of them, as we know, are members of the Eurozone as well. So we could see that Slovenia was the first one in 2007, and as we know, the Lithuania was the latest country in 2015, and currently Bulgaria and Croatia are part of ERM2 mechanism, also waiting to enter the Eurozone after fulfilling the Maastricht criteria. But actually, because we could divide the countries in these two groups, non-Euro and Eurozone countries now, we could see some effects, economic effects for each of the groups, and we could ask question whether Eurozone actually made the environment more favorable for the countries that are part of the Eurozone now, and what about their developments for these indicators. So is it better for them now when they are part of the Eurozone? And in case, because this is a lot of data for these indicators, and while thinking about how to present it, I decided to show you top performers in terms of the exact indicator and relevant particular indicator, and risky countries or worst performers for these indicator as well. So this is potential GDP growth for the two periods. In yellow, it is before the global crisis, and in green, for the top performers, it is before the current crisis, actually. And in terms of risky countries, we have in blue before the global crisis, and in red before the current crisis. So we could see that we have top performers, namely Romania, Poland, and Estonia for this indicator, and risky countries, Slovakia, Slovenia, and Croatia. And concerning actual GDP growth, we have top performers Romania, Poland, and Hungary, and risky countries Slovakia, Latvia, and Croatia. So Romania, Poland, and Estonia have the highest potential growth after the global crisis, which gives them favorable prospects for medium-term development. The biggest decline in potential GDP in the second period compared to the first one is observed in Latvia, Lithuania, and Slovakia due to the large overheating of the economy before the crisis and inability to achieve high growth rates in the period after the crisis. And we have lowest potential growth rates after the crisis in Slovakia, Slovenia, and Croatia. And as I said, we could see some developments in the countries that now are part of the Eurozone. So these countries, these new member states countries that are now part of the Eurozone, have a lower average potential growth rate of 2.1% after the crisis. And it is, for comparison, 2.4% in the non-Euro area countries. So the achieved growth rate in Eurozone countries is also below the non-Eurozone countries, and it is 3%. And in the group of non-Eurozone countries, it is 3.3%. Before the global crisis, the Eurozone countries had higher potential and achieved growth rates. So after the crisis, the situation, as we could see, changed. And this table shows us the crisis and the recovery. And in the first column, we have cumulative real decline for these countries. And in the second, we have consecutive years, crisis years, with decline. And as we could see in the case of Croatia, the number of years is 6. And at the last column, we could see when real GDP is above pre-crisis level. So the data shown is from the Eurostat, and it is based on 2015 year prices. So these are in real terms. So in this concerning crisis and recovery, we have the largest cumulative fall in GDP in Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, and Croatia. The decline in Latvia is above 20% and last 3 years from 2008 to 2010. And real GDP exceeds its pre-crisis levels in 2018. And the decline in Croatia lasts the most 6 years and recovered in 2019. So Poland is the only country that does not see a decline in real GDP during the crisis, with growth in 2009, the crisis year for almost all of the others, amounting to 2.8%. Plantation growth in 2013-2019 is second highest at 3.1% after Romania, and it remains the closest to its pre-crisis level of 3.8%. For the next indicator, growth of investment, this is gross fixed capital formation in real terms. So we have top performers, namely Hungary and Lithuania, and risky countries, Bulgaria and Latvia. In case of Bulgaria, you could see that before the crisis, the global crisis, Bulgaria has the highest growth of investments as a part of GDP, 15.5%. But now, after the crisis, we have only 1.8%. And the share of investments in the real GDP, again, the top performers are Czech Republic, Estonia, and Romania, and the risky countries, Bulgaria, Slovenia, and Poland. So we could see this also in this slide. So Hungary is really one of the top performers in terms of investment growth rates, and this helps Hungary to achieve one of the highest share of investments in 2019, namely 26.4%. The worst performers, Bulgaria and Latvia. So in case of Bulgaria, we had the steepest decline in share of investments from 31.5% in 2008 to 19.3% in 2019. Eurozone countries, this group of countries, have lower growth rate, 3.6% versus 4.2% in the other group, as well as lower share of investments in 21.6 versus 21.8% after the crisis. So this is not being part of the Eurozone do not help to these countries to achieve better results concerning this indicator. In terms of employment, we have top performers, Hungary, Slovenia, and Slovakia, and risky countries, Latvia, Bulgaria, and Romania. So Hungary has managed to increase the number of employed by 17.2% in 2019 compared to 2008. This is really very impressive development. And the worst performers are Latvia, Bulgaria, and Romania. Bulgaria has the highest growth rate of employment in terms of number of employed in the period before crisis, but the decline by 7.4% is one of the steepest in year 2019 compared to 2008. Eurozone countries have higher average growth rate for the period before the current crisis, but the average decline in the number of employed is 0.4% in 2019, so the latest year from this period. In terms of labor productivity, top performers are Romania, Poland, and Bulgaria, and risky countries are Hungary, Slovakia, Slovenia, and Croatia. And in terms of unit labor cost, we have top performers Croatia, Slovenia, and Poland, and risky countries Latvia, Bulgaria, and Lithuania. So you could see this on this slide. Poland managed to be one of the top performers in terms of unit labor cost. Bulgaria is performing good in terms of labor productivity, but has highest growth of the unit labor cost as well, which is not so good for the competitiveness of the country. Croatia also has some mixed picture, lowest growth of labor productivity, but lowest growth of unit labor cost as well. They even have a drop in the unit labor cost on average per annum. Eurozone countries have lower average growth rate of productivity. Again, Eurozone countries do not perform well, and higher average growth rate of unit labor cost, which is a challenge for the competitiveness of these 5 countries being now part of the Eurozone. In terms of budget balance, on average, the top performers for the current period are Estonia, Czech Republic, and Lithuania, and risky countries for this current second period before the current crisis are Slovenia, Hungary, and Romania. And in terms of government debt, we have top performers Estonia, Bulgaria, and Czech Republic, and most risky countries, Hungary, Slovenia, and Croatia, with really high level of debt, which is above the Maastricht criteria for the whole period before the current crisis. So in terms of fiscal stance, Estonia is top performer in budget balance as well as in government debt, and top performers regarding debt are also Bulgaria and Czech Republic, and these countries have more fiscal room for expansion in current situation. Slovenia and Hungary are worst performers in both indicators, and Eurozone countries, these indicators, they are doing well, have been performing better in both indicators. And if we try to construct something like a in terms of performance of these indicators, we could see that best performers with most pluses, plus signs, are Estonia, Poland, and Romania. And risky countries with most minus signs are Croatia, Latvia, and Slovenia. Eurozone countries performs worse in terms of positive score. They are on average has positive score of 2, and non-Eurozone countries have 2.8, and average negative score is more negative in case of Eurozone, -3, in comparison to non-Eurozone countries from these 6 countries in the other group, which is -1.5 on average. So Eurozone countries seems to be riskier according to this set of indicators for the second period, which is before the current crisis. And we could see also that Poland, we can see here Poland with 5 pluses and only 1 minus. This is top performer in potential growth, actual growth, recovery from the crisis, labor productivity, and unit labor cost. Eurozone countries as a group have best performers in employment growth, two best performers and only 1 worst, and are riskiest in actual growth and labor productivity, 0 top performers and 2 worst performers. Eurozone countries have worst performance versus non-Eurozone countries after the global crisis in most of the indicators, in potential growth rate, actual growth rate, growth of investment, share of investment, declining number of employed when we compare 2019 to 2008, and lower growth in productivity and higher growth in unit labor cost. So this was from my side.
Thank you, Dr. Chobanov. We will ask a question to you and to another participants of the session after we'll listen to presentations more.